Yeah, let the big dog hunt. Hello again, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Philly Pulse, your city's sports beat. I'm your host, Joe Staszak, along with Micah Warren and Sean Lochner. We have a couple of distinguished guests coming on, Sam and Alec Sokolow, two distinguished Hollywood producers and writers, co-writers of Toy Story and many other breakthroughs in Hollywood. We'll have them on very shortly. They're actually ready to come in. We're going to talk a little Eagles first. Eagles plowed the Giants yesterday, 276 yards of rushing without A.J. Brown. Jalen Hurts almost pitched another perfect game, 141.5 rating, four touchdowns, no picks. Only one pick this year versus 15 touchdowns, 15 and out of 20 yesterday. Did a very nice job. Mike, I'll start with you. Your thoughts on the game yesterday? Revenge game? Maybe. It's probably on their mind, but I think once the game starts, it's football. I know the Giants lost Cam Scatterbo, unfortunately, but the Eagles pretty much dominated that game from start to finish.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say revenge game. It's a typical NFC East game. They do this all the time. It's another Eagles-Giants game, and the Eagles did what they're supposed to. They're supposed to be the better team. They're not supposed to be losing to them badly. But you know what? The Giants are 2-6, but at least this year they are 2-6 with promise. They remind me of the 5-11 '99 Eagles. Um,
First year of Andy.
of Andy and Donovan. So they're losing, but they were losing closer, and there was hope, and there was at least something to look forward to. I kind of look at the Giants like that right now.
Sean, your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of, I had I wasn't fearful of this game. I thought this game was in the bag. I mean, they played well. I think this was another, Kevin Patullo, good offensive play game.
For once.
Yeah, right. And I think they're just, building how did Jalen say they're trying to find oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Anyway, I thought it was a good game.
Well,
So
here's the thing, my dad texted me around the half. He said,
identity, that's what it was, identity. So
yeah, and they did. They found their identity, at least the identity of what they were last year, and they, ran the ball. The first time they think they ran the play, the outside zone blocking off the left tackle, and Barkley on his second play of the game goes 65 yards. Um, Dad texted
The
me,
identity is we can pass it and run it better than
right.
anyone, and when we do it all together, no one's stopping it. That's the identity. They just
pretty
haven't done it.
much. And it
Mhm.
wasn't just Barkley. I mean, first time since 2013 that the Eagles had two running backs. It was Bryce Brown and Shady McCoy back in 2013. It had over 100 yards. I thought Tank Bigsby was great. I thought Will Shipley returning kicks, punts was great, giving the Eagles good field position. Dad says, Giants are hanging around. I said, yeah, but just will get away from them late, I think. It was an 11-point game. Jalen takes a very, very bad sack back to their own 40-yard line. Second and like 26, and Tank Bigsby runs off tackle for
Oh,
20
that was
yards. And
beautiful.
I thought that put the game away right
Mhm.
there. They go on to score four plays later. I thought Kevin Patullo did have a very good game. Dallas Goedert, two touchdowns. Jalen was, again, being Jalen. All right, the boys are here, so we're going to let them in.
Well, Sam is having technical issues, but let's let Alec in. Let him get
Okay,
started
big
without.
Giant fan, so I mean,
Yeah.
your boys, Micah. So we'll see if we call off the dogs here or what we do is we're going to bring in. Oh, Alec. Alec is first. All right, he's bottom right at least. How I look at things. There he is,
Hello.
Alex
Hey,
Sokolow.
Alec.
Welcome
Hey
to the Philly
guys.
Pulse.
Hey, nice to see you guys.
Nice to see
Thanks for
you,
coming
Joe
on, Alec.
Staszak. Michael Warren. That's Sean Lochner up here. Big Giant fan, huh? What are you going to do for running back nowadays?
Oh wow, you just jumped right in.
Poor guy.
No, sorry, man. No,
No, if you want to enjoy your necrophilia, enjoy it. I'm not gonna stop you from fucking a corpse. Like that's,
You are Sam's brother.
I'm like
Oh, that's
that.
so funny.
I mean, that's.
To be honest, I love the kid, and he's on my fantasy team, and I did feel bad for him because he had that touchdown. He had three against them last time. I loved him at Arizona State. I was
Yeah,
really
no,
just
no,
wishing him well.
like I could tell you, and this may be true if he was 3 inches taller and 50 pounds heavier, but you watch him and almost from the time he was drafted, you're like, how long is that going to last? I mean, like literally. So I think the same thing with Dart, to be honest. Like, really fun to watch. Gives the Giants a little pulse, but like, history says that doesn't last. So
Right? You would think
Well,
not, but
Dable running these designed runs. I mean, okay, to go back to the first Eagles Giants game,
yeah,
I was kind of texting with your brother a bit. But he gets out of the concussion tent and Dable's patting him on the head. I mean, this just looks
yeah,
terrible. And then he runs two designed runs for the guy. We know Dart doesn't get down great at this point in his career. I
yeah.
mean, they ran a designed run on the last touchdown that they got. Like, I don't understand. What are you trying to do to him?
Yeah,
trying to keep his job.
it's a good question, and all I would say is like, who knows just how dinged up he really was, or what the deal was. But I can tell you, as somebody who has been in the desert for a decade now, looking for a pulse, you get it, and then you think, oh man, like this is, if you watch enough football, you just know that. Look what's going on with Daniels down in Washington. It's just like any young kid that like things a little bit differently, running like that. It seems like it's a grown up game, and you got to make a business decision there. You
And I,
know.
and I
Yeah,
think
no, I
about
would
Josh
agree.
Allen the same way.
Your brother Sam is about to enter the building, so let's
Oh, good.
Let's
He'll
get
he'll
Sam.
he'll he'll talk. He'll talk more about. I'm more of a philosopher than Sam. Sam's a zealot. Yeah, I'm more of a, like, I first went to see the Giants play at Yankee Stadium, where I had to look past like a girder to watch them. So it's been a long time of bad football, with a couple of years that were pretty magical.
and they were pretty magical, knocking off the Death Star twice in '07
Yeah.
with Eli. Sam, welcome to the show, my friend. Joe Staszak, Micah Warren, Sean Lochner, and of course your brother right there, stage left. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's terrific to see you, gentlemen.
Welcome back
Good to
to the
see
show,
you.
Sam.
I know. They say when you get brought back a second time, you're real.
Yeah. You're going to be sitting on the couch next to Carson, I think, this time or next.
Yeah, Joe, though, as Voltaire said, once a philosopher, twice a pervert. So, like,
Exactly. So
you're going in for your second round with Sam.
So here you find me.
That's on you, man.
Well, Sam, last time we talked to you, the Giants had no wins. Now they have two at least, and it's almost November. But like they, they've they've looked a lot better than they did early in the season, and of course they made the change. You go to Jackson Dart, you beat the Chargers. Okay, so you collapsed against the Broncos, but you whooped
So
up.
do we.
Yeah, we collapsed against the Broncos, and I still think they're fugazi, but I know they killed the Cowboys because the Cowboys can't stop anyone. But beat the Eagles pretty bad on a Thursday night game, and for a while hanging around yesterday. You don't have Malik Neighbors. We talked about Cam Scatterboo now probably out for the season, obviously. You do have that burst with Jackson Dart. I liked him at Ole Miss, 6-year guy under Lane Kiffin. I think the Giants got a deal in, like, maybe was it number 25, and they also got Abdul Carter. So I think there's the beginning of something there. What's going to happen with the coaches and Joe Schoen, you think, after this year? If it kind of goes the way it's been going, it looks like there's some promise, looks like there's some future. But these guys have been hanging on by a thread.
Yeah. I mean, first I'll say that nothing is off limits in the conversation.
Okay.
So I will even begin with my too soon scatterboo joke. I will not finish today's game either. I have to jump in about 40 minutes into a meeting that's going on here on a film that we're making. But I'll leave you in the wonderful hands of Big Sock, Alec, when I have to jump.
Still waiting for that call from my table read. That was like 7 months ago we talked. I haven't.
Oh, yeah. No, it's coming.
Agent yet.
We're still working through channels with your agent, man.
Okay. All right.
We're getting there.
Figure
by the way-
Staszak gets to pitch something and I don't. I'm supposed to keep my mouth shut.
Well, I will tell you that, first of all, as Alec and I talked about in the off season, there's winning football and there's great football and there's all the things that you want. But with what the Giants have been, which literally, other than one season in 2022, for over 10 years, a team that starts 1-7 or 2-6, to have a team that I can say, at least up until yesterday when Scatterboo went down, was exciting, like must-see TV. They're flipping black flips. They got a guy named Spider-Man. The quarterback's really fun. So, yeah, they only have 2 wins. Collapse against the Cowboys obviously was painful. The collapse against the Saints was brutal. We got our lunch served to us yesterday. but the as we probably should have. But the Denver game was, what was the stat? 1,602 teams and coaches, staffs have been in that position before, and
I
they've
think
all
two teams have come back.
right. And we're one of the ones that figured out a way to take our players and lose that game. So I think on one hand, it's exciting to be a Giants fan right now. The arrow is pointing up. It feels like a fun team to watch. They're entertaining, they're competitive, they're in games. And Jackson Dart gives you that thing that everybody wants, which is you believe and you have excitement. On the other side of the coin, to quote our old sage, Bill Parcells, you are your record. And with all the hullabaloo, we're a 2-6 team. The collapses did happen. We can get into the minutia of why they happened. Even something like Scadaboo getting hurt, which doesn't mean this is why he got hurt, but it's right after a illegal procedure penalty or some shit. The team is completely undisciplined, and these little things keep happening that precede something really bad happening, that you have to say, why are we getting so many delay of games? Why are all these little things happening? So I think the team is pointing up. I think the players are pointing up at the moment, but I think the coaching staff is on shaky pudding, as they say down here. So,
I would add one thing to that also, and I don't know what it's like to really be a lifelong Eagles fan, but I did go to college in Philly, and I was there in the Jaworski years, but like I get the fan base. I think the Giants culture, and this is going way back, is like the Catholic Church. And I think that like they don't make quick changes. They have their dogma, and you are either bowing down to that, or you're not being a Giants fan, and that's what they are. So what do I think about Shane? I mean, he's had some good drafts, but like the two times the Giants developed championship teams were really based on the fact that the league came in and said you have to have George Young back in the early 80s, and you got Young's acolyte Corsi as the GM. But since 2010 or so, we've had like really kind of piss poor drafts, no retention of the drafts, no retention of players, and it shows because we can't get the proper depth or line play. Everything it just kind of compounds on itself. So what do I think? I think that Daboll should be probably removed, but I don't think he will be. And I think Shane has had a couple of good drafts, but they certainly are moving at a snail's pace in a league that, I mean, look what the Eagles have done in the last 6 years, how you guys have reloaded, and the management you guys have is outstanding. The ownership on down, it's outstanding. The culture is like, we are going to win. We're going to take you into the deep end and drown you. The Giants are like, just let's wait and hope that next year will be better.
But I think the best thing for you guys, and again, I said this before, you guys remind me of the '99 Eagles when we had just gotten Donovan and Andy. We were 5-11. But like Sam said, but there was hope. You were like, oh, we're losing, but we're only losing by 7 this time. And then we're getting better because 98 was an absolute nightmare.
Yeah.
But if you look at it philosophically, our resident Giants philosopher, if you keep losing with hope, you don't need a quarterback. If you're to land a top 5 pick, if somebody needs a quarterback, you don't.
Yeah.
King's ransom. You build teams that way. And if you keep losing, Dable will be gone, so you solve that problem. This is a 2 birds with 1 stone thing.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we're talking about Scadaboo. Neighbors is also gone. You're not good enough to take on that kind of water yet.
Absolutely. And
most aren't.
No, absolutely. And injuries are a bad part of football for any franchise. And we've lost 2 impactful players on the offensive side, 2 skilled players. And at the same time, I mean, we know Saquon is a magnificent player. And now you're watching Daniel Jones thrive in a good system. And so you got these 2 guys that somehow, put it together a little bit for 1 year, but these 2 guys that somehow the Giants couldn't nurture and build around. And you just see how good they could be, right? And so that's
the same with Xavier McKinney in Green Bay,
Mm-hmm.
who is our top player on defense, best safety, team leader. Yeah, he has that, that whatever ATV accident. Still comes back and plays with the hurt hand. He's leading the world in interceptions. He's leading the Packers D. They're whatever they are now, 6-1, 7-1, and so these teams are thriving. Players are thriving outside of our system. And that's GM stuff. That's not just coaching, right? We're not signing the right guys. I mean, we gave Darius Slayton the same contract that would have kept Saquon Barkley.
Why did you re-sign Slayton? It's not like you hadn't seen him before.
Right.
Right.
So there's this other thinking
dude,
going on.
and I would just say that the sin is not just letting them go. They got nothing back for them. They got no assets back for either of these guys. You know, they just let them walk. And so as a fan, it's hard to kind of get your passions that high when you realize there's so many things that have to work. But having said that, I agree. Dart, you could build around. Scatterboo is an attitude guy. If he, if his ankle comes back and he doesn't look like the last episode of Stranger Things, like we'll be okay, with him, right? But
I mean, this is how like the mind of the New York sports fan damaged and dealing works, right? Back in 1999, the Knicks shortened season, but made it to the NBA Finals with a Latrell Sprewell-led team.
Allen Houston
with Patrick Ewing on the bench. Ewing was hurt. Then the finals come and Ewing comes back and they get swept because the ball now has to go through Ewing. So there's a little bit of this little hope in that even though the Giants are getting hurt, Neighbors is out, his team is decimated. The real goal for the year is to develop Dart. And if Dart can develop this year where he doesn't have to give the ball to anybody, he doesn't have to feed Dart. I mean, Neighbors, 12 times a game. He can just sort of learn how to play NFL quarterback and then hopefully get some skill guys back next year and will be a top 10 pick at this point. So maybe even another impact guy. Again, I think the arrow's pointing considerably up from when we talked the last time. Intellectually,
Yes.
Emotionally, it's just hard to have 2-3 score leads in the fourth quarter and keep losing those games.
Right, but I have a question for you guys, right? Like, Eagles are the champs. They're the best. You guys had a little turnover in your coaching staff. You got, the season's a long season. Do you feel that the Eagles are kind of moving in the direction to kind of be back in the big game? Because I look at them and when I've seen them, and I know the early season is it's everybody's a work in progress. I feel like they don't seem to have that special juju. And then I also see them like just kind of beat the crap out of people. And I'm like, oh, they still have that, right?
If you asked me before the game yesterday, I'd say no, absolutely not. You can't win in this league if you can't run the football.
Yeah.
And under Sirianni, his first year here, when they went 9-8, they were number 1 in rushing. I think they were 2 the next year. They were 4 the next year. They were 2 last year in 2022. I think they were 6. They're 28th this year. Now they have a game like that where they rush for 276 yards. Barkley hits a bomb on the second play like he was doing last year. Digsby went all over the place. They had 2 guys with over 100 yards. That looked like the team that could run the football last year. And you're not going to go anywhere if you can't run the football. Last year, if you remember, they were inching as the season went along. They weren't really destroying folks until people remember the NFC title game. They put up 55 and then they put up 40 against KC, and they remember how good they got at the very end. But there were some games that they almost let slip away that they had to hold on to dear life for. A defensive guy, Nakobe Dean, had to make an interception against Jacksonville, and they had to do some things late in the Green Bay game to win that game, the opener. And against the Rams, Jalen Carter had to tackle Matthew Stafford on a 3rd and 2, which set them back into a 4th down where they threw it incomplete and the game was over, only down 6. So they kind of had that last year. I know if you look big picture, they had the juju. They didn't lose since the end of September until the Washington game in December where Jalen was out in the first quarter. But after yesterday, I said if they can block like that and they can get the offensive line back together, and I thought Kevin Patullo had his first really pretty solid game start to finish, then I'd say maybe. But it's a long season. You got other teams like Green Bay. They have 1 loss and a tie, and you have some other teams that are 5-2 that are playing football. I think Detroit is overall the cleanest, best team in the conference, and we'll see. It's a long season.
I think it's interesting because Barkley's getting like 14 to 17 touches a game. He's not getting a lot of touches, right?
14 carries yesterday. I think.
But I see that as a good sign because I see that as come December and January he'll have fresh legs. I don't know.
Well, but that's really the point, Joe. Is what you're saying is it from the Giants' point of view. We have not done what the Eagles obviously not just did last year in terms of winning a Super Bowl. That Eagles team in front of your eyes learned how to win.
They did.
And they kept learning how to win
every week
until all of a sudden they learned how to kick your freaking ass while winning.
Right.
But they kept learning how to win. And as Alec always says, bad teams find a way to lose. The Giants, frankly, are still learning how to lose. This team has not yet learned how to win. So, yeah, we beat the Eagles. That's great. I mean, that's a sign for a young quarterback and a young team that there's some talent there, and you can beat a team that currently sits on top of the throne. That's awesome. But bigger picture, you got to learn how to win the next week when you're up 18 points against Denver. You got to learn how to, close some of these games. We may not be a Super Bowl team, but the whole hope for this year was just learning how to be a team that knew how to win. Certainly games you should. Maybe that'll happen by the end of the year. Maybe the last 2-3 games of the year, we'll win some close games and be like, all right, the team's really learning that lesson. But the one thing the Eagles, you saw them do last year was get better and better and better at learning how to close teams out, step up, win. And by the time those last couple of games got around, they were great and knew how to win, and then just started kicking everybody's ass.
No, go ahead, Micah. I was just going to say that, I think the one thing that the Eagles have going for them this year is every year they seem to start off slow and then they pick up momentum and then they get to where they are. But there's a lot of injuries on that offensive line this year. And they're also dealing with this little A.J. Brown story in the background. So, I mean, are they on the way back to the big game? They could be, but I definitely think they have quite a few things, quite a few hurdles, should I say, before I can make that judgment.
And on the Brown front, and again, I don't follow it in the molecular level. Anytime, and wide receivers always have like personalities, and they're wired a little bit differently. But anytime a wideout becomes like the story week in and week out, is a little troubling sign for me. Like just as a fan, we had it with Beckham.
I knew that name was coming up.
Yeah, no, but we had it with him. But you can kind of go back to like whoever Drew Wilson. Like you go like exactly T.O. It's a funny thing because I see those stories and I think, well, how real is that? But then I'm like, yeah, but there's something there, So I agree
absolutely.
that's something to like just be watching out of the corner of your eye,
Yeah, but again, and not letting him off the hook, but wasn't he like reading books on the sidelines last year on the way to the Super Bowl?
It's always something with him. It's
right.
Always
You know what I'm saying? So
he's
like,
a ticking time bomb.
Similar thing.
But Sam, he was
shows up
highlighting
in December and January.
Look, what's his name? That tennis player Curry was reading books during matches. At least Brown was highlighting passages.
Well, let me ask you this.
He was retaining.
Listen, Alec and Sam, for people who don't know, you guys, big time Hollywood guys. Alec, you've had a hand in writing Toy Story, and you both have worked with like legendary people like Lasseter and in the Pixar Brain Trust, dealing with big egos and big personalities. How do you equate that to a football team and like being a coach who has to maybe deal with some of that? I know it annoys people, but that may be human nature. It doesn't annoy me. Go out there and score touchdowns, and I don't care what you read on the sideline. But I know it annoys people because it's almost like passive aggressive. He's still complaining, and everyone wants it to be copacetic. When we win, we all feel good when we win. Why doesn't this guy feel good when he wins? How would you deal with something like that if this was like Hollywood?
Well,
go ahead, Sam. You do it, man.
Well, no, I mean, we both talk about it from our own points of view. We have different. Hollywood, like anything, isn't just a monolith, right? So Alec is a screenwriter, and creates these incredible worlds, creates these universes. Works with. I mean, again, you're talking about the people that have read Alec's lines in popular culture, from Tom Hanks to Bill Murray to Tim Allen to Steve Martin. I'm as a producer, I think I do a lot of personality management, and there's a football by its they're very different, because football by its nature, I think, is about discipline and something that's regimented and creating certain rules. And then those rules, if followed in a certain way, lead to self-improvement, team success, winning. And filmmaking, by its very nature, is sort of a rule-breaking endeavor, and then it's like, how do you break the rules while still following some rules, the union stuff, and kind of doing some things right and having insurance and up, you're still doing something kind of renegade. So I think look, I deal with a lot of personalities. I think it is about communication. Yes, be a professional, show up. Speaking of a football Hollywood confluence, there's an old football movie, great sports movie, one of the best in my opinion, called North Dallas 40. It's a late 70s movie with Nick Nolte. It's directed by a guy named Ted Kotcheff, based on a book by Peter Gent, who had played for the Cowboys in the 70s. And we heard a story from the director that was friends with our dad, that Nolte would just disappear at the end of the day and nobody could ever find him. They'd send people looking for him. He was never in his hotel room. He was never anywhere. But then he'd show up at 7 the next morning and know his lines and hit his marks, and then disappear back into the night to do God knows what. And that was okay. I don't think that's okay in football. I mean, people sneak out, and there were obviously Lawrence Taylor rules for Lawrence Taylor, but I think managing players on a team, and then ownership kind of managing management, and GMs managing management, there are analogies and there are mission-oriented things like winning a game. I use a lot of sports analogies, but I think it's very different, because I think on the movie side, it's people coming together for one thing, and everybody's a little kind of a crackpot in their own way, and you're just trying to find what makes them all work to be motivated and hit their art in their best way. Where football, people have to get in line, and that's a coach's vision. And so you got to really pick the right coach, I think, to do that a little bit more.
Well, speaking of which, Sam, you and I texted briefly during that Broncos game. I knew to leave you alone. I know.
The minute you texted me was when the game went fucking sideways. So
because you had made a comment about Dable, you're like, I put this on the coach. That was before you scored to go ahead toward the end, and I was like, oh, see, I was being. You had the tip pass. I was like, man, today is your day. I should have just shut my mouth. I apologize. I should not have said anything.
It's okay. You're already off the hook, because I was sitting at a dining room table doing something, and then with 5 minutes left in the game, I moved to a chair, and that's why I really think they lost.
So do you still have a beef with Dable? I think personally, if he or Shane had to go in the offseason, it should have been Shane, because Dable did have some success in 2022, as you guys mentioned. Give him a shot with a new quarterback.
I'm going to interject on a couple of things. First of all,
Please.
with Dable, I kind of am hoping for like a Luther Vandross thing, where like Fat Dable is a better coach than Thin Dable. And so I'm hoping he becomes Fat Dable again, and he's just kind of like riding that razor thin thing between like gorking or being like the greatest coach ever. I'd say that, but I just want to go back to what Joe said. Here's one thing I do believe, and industries are different and cultures are different, but if you have a good idea, if you have something good, if you have something that's real, and I think the best movies have that, no matter the personalities, then it's a very simple argument, right? It's kind of a legal thing. When the facts are on your side, you argue the facts. When the facts are on your side, you pound the desk and argue the law. And I think in the thing that is true with Hollywood and with football or with any sport is that when you've got the right thing on your side, things simplify. You don't have to get fancy. You don't have to do it. And when they don't, for whatever reason, that's where things get a little weird. That's where things get, well, now you're going to see the Statue of Liberty plays, or that's where you're going to have stories and anecdotes bleed out on movie sets or TV sets or personalities and stuff, because you're like, all right, well, we're not holding something as substance, and so I do think that that's the commonality for me. When you eyeball test, when something's working, and when it's working, you don't have to get complicated,
Right.
So
and
in your opinion, are the Giants holding something? I think they are.
I mean, last thing I'll say on that too is even though there's certainly some funky movie accounting that happens, and God knows whatever, goes on there. But, generally speaking, the 32 guys that own those football teams know they're making money, win or lose. They're making hand over fist money, win or lose. The Giants, somebody sent me the thing earlier. Literally, the last 10 years, other than 2022, we're 1-7 or 2-6, and yet just got valued at $10 billion and cashed out $1 billion. You know, and so like that is a little different than when you're making a movie and everybody's kind of in this artistic thing, and you're hoping that, for the most part, a lot of the rewards come later. And I do think that's a bit of an attitude change in terms of what are we holding, right? We're holding the star now, right? We got the quarterback and the coach. You know, there's an old saying, and I think Dable at the moment still is that. And the record says it. He's an offensive coordinator masquerading as a head coach. He's the guy who's still a little bit nicer. A lot of reports are coming out that it's a country club kind of practices and training camp and kind of taking it really easy and wants to be everybody's friend. At the end of the day, Parcells was an asshole and super successful. Coughlin had to like go through a whole thing to be slightly less disciplined to get the best out of the team, but he was really a taskmaster. And I think Dable is a 28-year coordinator that knows how to make the players his best buddy to deal with that bigger authority environment. And there's nobody filling that void of the bigger authority.
Right, but you had said something though, Sam, about Lawrence Taylor, and I do think that also is true. You know, like both industries are driven by stars and you know, basically getting ass in the seats. And when you got somebody that can guarantee that or come close to guarantee it, there are different rules for them. You know, Lasseter, Joe, you mentioned him. You know, he had this incredible track record, and then things got a little funky for him, and then he got Me Too'd out of Pixar, you know, and the thing with Lasseter at this point is, you know, yeah, he's still making movies, but he no longer has the framework that Pixar was giving him to have the leeway. And you know, when you got a guy like not that he would ever do this. Barkley seems like the most stand-up guy around. But if Barkley started acting like LT, you know, I think that there would be a conversation of like, well, yeah, but he's still showing up and he's a beast, right? Like what do you do? One of the movies that I wrote, one of the first movies I wrote, Charlie Sheen was in, you know, like, and Charlie Sheen, I saw an interview with him where he didn't remember making that movie, right? You know, like that's.
Wait. Okay,
and I believe him.
I want to hear the end of the story. I know Sean has a question. I just watched that documentary like 7 times. So please tell us more about the Charlie Sheen experience when you're done that he didn't remember and how he was. Did he show up and hit his marks, hit his, you know, the blocking and everything? And like,
that was a fantastic.
I saw him once. He said he had to put an ice cube in his rear end to wake up because he's falling asleep on the set. He did so much crack. How was the Charlie Sheen experience? And please.
Well, the movie I wrote, it was one of the first scripts I wrote when I got out to LA. It took about 5 or 6 years to get funded and made. Was Money Talks, and it was Charlie Sheen and Chris Tucker, right? And the real crazy part of the movie wasn't Charlie, it was Chris, because Chris was 23 or 24 years old and had script approval and really never learned his lines for whatever reason. And so you had to have like a person standing next to the camera to tell him the lines that he would tell back to the camera. And Charlie, the thing with him was he was brought on by New Line, the company that made the movie, in large part because he was a more established name, and that's how they kind of piece these things together. But it was touch and go, knowing whether he'd show up or not. His dad would call up the producer most Mondays and say, do I have to call the hospital? Do I have to call the cops? Do I have to call the morgue? And they like, no, but he was there and he was professional, which was crazy, right? But then, like literally 10 years later, he's like, he was at the press junket for that movie. He's like, I don't remember making this movie, you know? So go figure, you know?
It's unbelievable.
That is
Right? Crazy.
So funny.
You know, again, they're both entertainment products. Obviously, I mean, football is an entertainment product, and friend of Alex and I developed something a few years back that we never really got done about Joe Namath, and it was really a story of how, you know, this kid comes out of Pennsylvania through Alabama, gets drafted by the Jets right at the moment when like the leagues are merging and these advertising agencies are blowing up in the 60s and television's getting huge and these sponsors are getting huge. And they realize they have an entertainment property here with football, even more so than a sport to a large degree. And they need a matinee idol. And Namath becomes that matinee idol. and cut to alcoholism or divorces. Are they a direct line? Who knows? But he became something other than just a football player. There's always been parallels between sports and entertainment. I think football and movies, obviously crossover talent, The Rock or from college football or Terry Crews or whatever. But I do think the disciplines of trying to put together a football team, there's just a little bit of a different rule layer, even though you're dealing with some high priced guys and people that have a certain, like Alex said, LT kind of latitude that you might give to your best players. But there's personality management in all of it. There's personality management in all of it.
Sure, but are you guys okay with the idea, and this is for you, Alec, and you, Sam, because you're equating it to sports, and you mentioned LT, probably the greatest defensive player. Probably he was the greatest, in my opinion, of all time. So as long as he shows up and he logs 13 hurries, 8 hits, 3 sacks a game, I don't much care what he does. If he shows up in a wetsuit for training camp and needs to lose 30 pounds in a week, that's fine. You know what I'm saying? AJ Brown goes out and does his thing. You want to read books, you want to cite poetry and go scripture on me, that's fine too. Saquon, the same thing. Charlie Sheen, look, he's a name. He shows up, knocks it out. It seemed like the more crack he did was commensurate with more money they gave him per episode of like 2.5 Men. He's getting $2 million a show, and he was. But again, he showed up and the show was a hit and blah, blah. Are you guys like okay with like there are some rules, there are different rules for different players?
I am up to a point. I mean, I'll tell you a great anecdote. When I moved out to LA and I was starting my writing career, I met a guy who knew a guy, and one thing led to another. And then every Saturday morning at 9 a.m., we were going over to O.J. Simpson's house on Rockingham and playing pickup basketball on the tennis court, right?
You were doing this?
Yeah, I was doing this, right? And it was
Who didn't?
and it was about anywhere from 10 to 12 guys, and he had set up hoops on a tennis court. But the thing was about it was he's like, Nicole's sleeping with the baby or this or that. Don't ring, don't worry, just climb over the wall. That's how you get in here, right? So then when that whole thing kind of happens and they're talking about climbing over the wall, I'm like, well, yeah, that was his way of doing things, right? Like that's.
You guys find a glove.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it was crazy. Alec brought me to the game
in the back of.
I was visiting once. I was visiting once when I think I was still in college, and we go to this place on a Saturday morning. Alex said, "You just jump the fence. It's a hoop game."
Yeah,
so we did.
You just go and you do that, and I say that because it's like. O.J. Simpson was the greatest running back of his era, right? He then went into Hollywood and became like both an actor, but then a TV personality. He's beloved, and I think everybody was okay with everything until the murder. How
was he to interact with? And it seemed like it was very affable, aside from the double murders, Mrs. Lincoln. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
How was that experience, the OJ experience?
It was truly just welcome, use the court. He had bad knees. He wasn't going to run ball. Like he just was there when he was there, and it just celebrities are like a different species. Like in general, like they just live on a different planet, and I think that's like part of it. So yeah, I'm okay with just about everything, but like. The dog fighting was a no-no. Murder's a no-no. You don't obviously want to see anything that's abusive to other people, but if somebody wants to like shoot shit up their veins, but they come and they're professional, whatever, that's business,
Yeah, I mean, I like it's hard. Hollywood itself, of course, and I'm not here to defend Hollywood, God knows, but it gets a huge reputation as it warrants because its entire existence is about public eye stuff. And it has all these different connotations. But I have friends that are monster billionaire real estate guys in New York. And, they get pulled over with 1,500 Oxycontin in the trunk. They're not dealing it. That's their deal. That's what they're doing to themselves to get through their days. And they go through their rehab, they go through their process, God willing, they get through the other side, maybe fix their families, maybe don't, but nobody takes their buildings away and nobody says you can't be an operator in big business. So I think that distills down to an individual thing, like Alec is saying. You have to have a certain sense of personal responsibility. You have to be a professional. You have to be a good person. And if you happen to have a really, really bad habit, that's terrible and it's sad. But how you deal with it is your own business, I think, in any business. Once it
The real thing, I'm going back
to other people. Yeah, it's
right, but go back to like being a fan though. Like I think we all would say there are right ways to play a game and wrong ways to play a game. When you see cheap shots, when you see things that like are a little chippy, you see all that stuff. As a fan, you have a judgment call, right? You start seeing that person differently. And then if a team has that repeatedly, you think, well, there's a cultural issue there. And that's why we all can agree Dallas sucks, right? Oh, sorry.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's so you just made me think. I was going to save this to the end, but I'm going to answer the question.
Well, we're coming up on it anyway. Go for it.
All right. So the Toy Story gang, gets dropped into an Eagles-Giants tailgate.
Okay.
Who's the fan of the Birds? Who's the fan of Big Blue? And who's keeping the peace at this tailgate?
You're talking about Woody and Buzz and those guys?
Absolutely. That's the gang, right?
All right. Well, I here's what I would say. I think oh God, that's such a hard conceptual question. I would think that Woody would be he would try and sit above all of it and just say, well, no, this is all, we're all just going to get along, whatever. I think Buzz would be like Scatterboo, to be honest. I think that like he thinks that he's the real Buzz Lightyear, and I think Scatterboo like truly believes. Did you see when he broke his ankle or whatever that was yesterday? The first thing he did was like the top of his helmet.
Yes.
I need to come out now.
Come out of the game. Yeah.
I'm done.
I only have one leg.
That's like a broken toy, right? Like that's so insane, right? I mean, think about that.
All I know is that even though this is Alec's creation and he has a sense of a lot of this stuff, that somehow Bo Peep would end up a Chiefs fan. That's not cool.
Yeah, you're so right about that.
I would definitely think the little green army men would be Eagles fans. That's for sure.
And well, I think Mr. Potato Head would be an Eagles fan also. Like I do, and I say that with love. Like that, I think Rickles would have been a great Eagles fan. I don't know who he rooted for, but like
love Rickles.
Same.
But no, I think that Woody would have acted like everybody needs to get along in some way, but Buzz would be there being like, no, I'm here, let's go. It all starts with me,
So who's the Giants fan then, Alec?
Who's the Giants fan there? I hope not Sid. That would suck. Probably Sid's dad because he was drunk in the easy chair.
I could just see Rex panicking in the parking lot.
So we are coming up on Sam's time.
No, it's funny though. It just made me think because of the show that I have called Genius, and I started just thinking about that for a second when you asked the question. And what came into my head was Bill Belichick when he was once asked, "What does it feel like to be a genius?" His answer was, "If I was a freaking genius, I wouldn't be a football coach."
Is that what he said?
Yeah.
What do you think of Hoodie struggling and how he's struggling in North Carolina?
He struggled with the Browns, and there's no finite thing. There's no magic dust. Again, it goes back to what we were saying in the beginning, right? You're a much better coach with Jalen Hurts. You're a much better coach now, all of a sudden, right? With Jackson Dart, the Giants look promising.
But here's the question.
Yeah, he had Brady, and that was
no. But here's the question: When did he start fighting for GM responsibility in New England? Because when he came in and he was just the coach, they did pretty good. But they, with Brady and with everything. But like, wasn't the last several years? Wasn't he like
last
really?
Few years, yeah, he wasn't good at drafting at all.
Exactly. No. And so what do you do in college when you're a coach now with NIL? You gotta bring in kids. You gotta bring in talent. I don't think he's good at that, and it doesn't look like his girlfriend's good at that either. So,
it looks like a lot of these old coaches in college football aren't good at it anymore because you just saw what's it called, lose LSU last night. So
and Saban got out at the right time. Like he just said, this business is changing, and it's not what I do.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's the point. I got a little reprieve for a few more minutes. I think that NIL changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that these players getting this amount of money from every college. So now these bigger universities don't have the advantages they used to have, whatever those advantages were, right or wrong, good or bad, above the table or below. there's a different deal. And so I think a lot of colleges now are struggling to figure out a way to get recruiting advantages because it's not just money. And even when there were no, which was, I think, what they were somewhat oddly hoping for, but when money was technically not on the table, then the schools that figured out a way to game that system with the most money, like Alabama, USC out in LA with, all that stuff, it was a different machinery. Now that there's all this money out there, they're all looking for different recruiting advantages. And what I think the real lesson from Bill Belichick, aside from the obvious weird girlfriend stuff and all, it's just weird stuff. Besides all that, what you are realizing is that, even a great one, an older NFL coach doesn't solve the recruiting problem in the same way. They're not all jumping in the transfer portal to go play for Bill Belichick when the same exact offer comes to go play anywhere. And there might be a different weather, a different environment, a different kind of offense, a different thing.
Chance to play.
Right. Players want it to be about them. They want.
So here's the question, though, right? Let's say next year, for whatever reason, Sirianno moves to Australia because he wants to do something, and let's say the Giants fire Dable. Would any of you guys want Belichick as your coach, or would we want Belichick as our coach?
No.
Well, he's 74 years old, and God bless him. He's got more energy than I do. That's fine.
Yeah. No, I'm saying. So the guy ran his game, and then now he's in kind of what did Bill Burr, the comedian, say? He's in retirement. Like, this is what he's doing instead of playing golf.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And his track record since Brady left is,
well, even before it, Sam mentioned the Browns. Does anyone know who Todd Philcox is? Okay, he's the starting quarterback of the Browns when he went in and cut Kosar.
Wow!
Like, how did that work out in Cleveland?
Wasn't the best idea. Was he like the last Brian?
But the real thing about
quarterback they've had.
The real thing about Belichick is it goes back to the other conversation a little bit about Hollywood, maybe, or certainly around these athletes, right? Nobody should get blamed. This includes Bill Belichick. Nobody should get blame for taking a shit ton of money to do something.
No.
And so Bill Belichick didn't pay himself $10 million. They opened up that up. He said, yes, $10 million a year to come down there and, do my thing. And it's a new world where I can
take a vacation during the bye week.
Right. You know what I mean? And it's 10 games and we're playing these kids. I mean, he did what he thought was the right thing to do in that moment. And okay, I think the question really is for a place like North Carolina. You had Mac Brown, you were getting a little bit more interesting, and now you're choosing to do this in hopes of what? Recruiting other kids and turning your program into something that has different advantages. So I wouldn't want Belichick coaching the Giants now. I think we need our Chris Shula or some smart young person from a lineage that, like the McVay lineage or something. That's what I would want.
Mike McDaniel should be available soon.
And I think
exactly.
I don't
you can't wear those capri pants in like December, man.
They were killing him on Get Up with the big Ray-Bans. He had
looked like the Unabomber.
Is there another
Unabomber?
Does Schottenheimer have a nephew? Like let's just get like all the old guys back. Man.
I have a weird feeling John Harbaugh is going to be coming up 95.
Yeah, you could be right. That was
a hunch.
What a funky year they're having, man.
Well, let's explore that because John Harbaugh's defense is horrendous. I mean, okay, they beat the Bears. That's great. Remember, Bill Belichick made his bones by winning a couple Super Bowls under Parcells with you guys, holding the Bills to 19 yards or 19 minutes of time of possession and winning that game. So I'd have him on as a defensive consultant or coordinator, maybe not the head guy.
But hey, Joe, if you remember correctly, Big Red needed a change and didn't get his Super Bowls until he left here. And he adjusted.
Got a quarterback. You got a gig.
Sure. Well, what if the Giants, what if John is the change and they go a different direction like the Chiefs did?
Yeah, I don't love him, but he's got a pretty good quarterback, at least a regular season quarterback.
Yeah, regular season quarterback.
He's awesome because he doesn't do anything in the postseason. But they don't grow off trees. There's 8 billion people on the planet. They can't staff 32 teams with a franchise quarterback. Come on. It's
apparently not
that easy.
It really is. It's really something, which goes back to, it's just fun to be a Giants fan today. Even we're used to being 2-6, but we're not used to, hope is just the one word, but just having a kid that you love to watch and see and believe that he's going to do the things that make it unique. He's going to extend plays, which breaks down coverages and all that.
But you also have the start of a defense too, Sam. The defensive line is loaded. I can't speak for your secondary and linebackers, but
they're young.
All right, and like the old movie Shane, where like the little kid was like, "Don't go, Shane." Like with Shane Bowen, we're like, "Go, Shane, go, Shane."
Yeah, exactly. Go,
please go,
take it. But I do think that for me, my issue with Dable isn't schemes or yes, you can't lose an 18-point lead until you have one. So there is something there. From my own little fan on the sideline, armchair quarterback, place, it's the penalties and the lack of discipline. While I'm not an expert, if everybody says fly to Denver on a Wednesday because you get used to the altitude and he's the one guy that flies them on a Saturday, and then they fall apart in the fourth quarter, constantly getting delay of game penalties, constantly getting these weird penalties that hurt your team, going for it on 3rd and long or 3rd and 6 when the other guy's burning his timeouts in Denver, run the ball into the line again and punt. You win the game. But every little decision that Dable makes, whether they're big decisions about how the team is managed, practices, disciplined, we're here. Every time we look up, we're 2-6. And I just think that doesn't warrant extension.
I don't know if it was Dexter Lawrence, but someone on the defensive side was not happy when you guys kind of dropped back into prevent.
Yeah,
Burns.
It was Burns.
Yeah.
Shane Bowen dropped back into didn't his teammate or his players were not happy about that. What'd you think? I mean, that was one of those things that
right, but that's right, and that might not have fallen on Daboll. That might have been the defensive coordinator. But we've all watched a lot of football in our lives. When does the drop in 8 back when does that work?
Never.
Right? It's so to me, it's like the statistically theoretically safer thing, but come on, like the whole game is about aggression and about like playing in your lanes and causing the other team to feel to me, it's just like it's so painful to watch that because Burns should be pissed. Like it's
I mean I got to run now, so I'm gonna let you guys finish up together with Alex.
Thanks
so good to see you guys. But the last thing I'll say is as a Giants fan, and I know we've all been there, when they missed an extra point in the first quarter against Denver, before that, I turned to my wife and said, "We're going to lose this game by 1 point, just so you know. This is how this works." Because we should have been replacing this kicker already. That goes back to Shane. Then when they threw the interception, I'm like, "Oh, let's just sit back and watch the train wreck," right? So you see a team that knows how to lose. If they can learn how to win, whether it's under this coach or any other coach, they're going to be formidable. And when we get together next year, it'll be a different conversation. Have an awesome rest of the year.
Thanks, Sam.
The division.
Hey, look.
Hugs all around.
Go Birds.
Yeah,
there you go.
Man.
G-Man, baby. G-Man forever.
There you go. Yeah, my bro, he's got the Giants tattoo. Like he wears it on his skin. I'm just wired where it's like, if they've got to earn my right to be disappointed. And I've reached a point that, when the Giants beat the Eagles 3 weeks ago, that was a moment of kind of disbelief for me. And it was a moment of like, oh, wait a second, should I start caring again? And then the Denver collapse happened. So by the time yesterday's game comes, that was a scrimmage for the Eagles, right? That was like, just like, let's get healthy, right? And that's so that's I go right back to that default mode.
So you believed her? You thought she wasn't going to cheat on you again? She means it this time.
I know, and it only cost me like $100, man.
It's like me and the Sixers.
Right. Well, but no, exactly.
The Sixers. He just always goes back up top.
I always do.
Dude, I was in Philly in the early '80s, and the faux and faux squad, man. That was spectacular.
That was
Like,
my introduction. I'll never forget 1983. Like as a
yeah.
kid, it was I was little, and I remember that was my introduction to Dr. J, and I was like,
Yeah, but it was. I mean, they went 5, 6 deep with guys that just could ball out,
mhm.
and they played. I'm going to say the right way, but they played a beautiful brand of basketball. So, and I go to that's the kind of fan I am. I want to watch the best. Like sports is really funny. Like you were talking about the entertainment industry before. Sports is the only form of entertainment where you go in actively rooting for half the people you see to suck, right? Like you don't go to a Broadway show or to a movie or a concert and be like, I hope the bass player sucks, right? And so I kind of try to graduate to this place of I just want to watch the best football. The biggest issue I have with the Eagles is they're so dominant, but I don't think they play a beautiful form of football. They play
Mm-mm.
a beach up form of football, which is probably in the DNA of the game, going back to when the forward pass had to be made legal because people were getting killed in the 1890s tush push stuff, right? Um, so that's the real thing. So Sam's saying it like Dart and Scatterwood started playing football that was like, oh, this is fun to watch. This is
Mhm.
like maybe the right way. Until you get that on a regular basis, I don't see how anybody, unless they're lying to themselves, can like really buy in.
Alec, do you think some changes way above need to be addressed? Like,
Oh yeah,
what's gonna?
absolutely,
So
absolutely.
what?
And
Okay, so
and
you're handed the keys. What are you doing? What's
well,
going to change the
well, well,
Giants?
well. Here's the thing, and I'm gonna say this, and I know he's fighting cancer, but I think it starts with the owner, and I think, Lurie's is the son of a family with a huge wealth, right? So I'm
Mhm.
not saying that you have to be self-made, but in the case of Tim Mara or Wellington Mara or the Mara family, in the case of the Tishes, in case of now, I guess the Kochs are now involved with the Giants, whatever. It's I don't think you have football people who actually have to win and have to set that tone. And so I think that it's not even about Shane in some way. I think it goes to the owner on down. The same thing with the Jets. I mean, is there a worse character guy than Woody Johnson?
He ripped his own quarterback last
Right,
week.
that's what I'm saying. And so
That's
that
some
phrase,
Donald Sterling stuff.
but that phrase like a fish rots from the head. I think the owner does matter. Right? Lamar Hunt or the Hunt family, they're great. They're the right owners, right? Lurie's the right owner.
Mhm.
And so if I own the team, if I actually had the chance to make the decisions there, I would be looking at the scouting department and I'd be looking at the GM and I'd be saying it cannot be that hard to fix an offensive line. It shouldn't take like 9 years to fix an offensive line. So I think that's the stuff that drives me crazy. It's the same problem I have with the Yankees. It's the same problem I have. I'm a New York fan with watching the same teams fail the same way year after year, right? And that's what the Giants have kind of done. There's a bit of a heartbeat now, but I'm a bit dubious right now because I'm just used to it not working. Their offensive line may be okay next year, may be okay if Thomas stays healthy.
Yeah, that's the big if. He's the difference between functional and this is going to get someone killed.
Yeah,
He's that
exactly.
good.
He's that good, right? And he is that good. And the defensive line obviously it's a source of to build around. But
Mhm.
yeah, I'm not good enough or smart enough to know who has to be the GM. But I do think that whoever's driving that car has to like figure out that stuff. But I go above that. And I think the ownership is just not, they don't demand success. That's how I see it as a fan.
And oddly, that hasn't been them historically. They're long
No.
time, anybody that I've known that has been in the organization, played for them, whatever, all has very great things to say about the Mara family.
Right? No, I'm not, and I'm not in any way. They could be the greatest people in the
No,
world.
I
But
know.
no, no, but like going back to like my career, right? I wrote both Garfield movies back in the day, and I dealt with Jim Davis, who created Garfield, and then I've dealt with other people who are the children or the spouses of the rights creator, the IP creator, right? When you deal with the person that creates the IP, they may be risk averse in their own ways, but they know what they created and they know where like the North Star is of that IP, and they go, right? When you deal with the rights holders, the family that now owns the rights to something, they're all risk averse and they are afraid of fucking something up.
Hmm.
And so the Maras could be the greatest family in the world. It could be the greatest organization to go and punch a clock in the world. He's not, he doesn't have to win. And he was handed the keys to something, and he's just trying to not to fuck it up, in my opinion. I mean, that's fan Alec talking, you know?
I mean,
I think it's a great analogy.
Yeah, it kind of explains that HBO Hard Knocks of him, like, oh, I hate to see him go down to the Philadelphia Eagles.
Yeah,
like,
oh golly,
he didn't want to fuck it up.
Right,
Exactly.
oh golly, gee shucks.
Isn't that
Yeah.
self-fulfilling prophecy? Like, what's the fear? I mean, when
But
you
I-
have that kind of fear, it almost becomes reality.
Yeah, and in my experience, working in the entertainment industry, it does come down to that. If somebody, it's why like Walt Disney might have been a flawed human being, but he created Disneyland. He created Disney, right?
Mhm.
Bob Iger may be the smartest MBA in any room he walks into. He's not a creative person. And when I look at why like Hollywood has a harder time churning out good movies, it's because guys like Bob Iger are in charge that ultimately create all the creative hires that then create the creative decisions that then you're sitting there saying, why can't I go to a movie? You know, like, why is there nothing to watch? You know?
Hmm.
So
You were incredibly creative, Alec, and again, the Toy Story. You wrote a lot of other things, and you worked with your brother. And guys get drafted, and they obviously get scouted. How did you work your way up and get noticed and become at the top of the hierarchy of creativity in Hollywood?
you know what? Everybody has their own ride. What I, all right, I'll try and Reader's Digest this. When I was out in LA and I wanted to make it as a screenwriter, I really kind of was trying to figure out, like everybody else, how do you just make that happen? I found a guy I worked with for a long time, Joel Cohen, not of the Coen brothers, but a different Joel Cohen. We actually sat down and we just said, like, how do you survive as a screenwriter? And like, let's get really good at one thing. And that's what we tried to do. And that was telling buddy stories. Money Talks was a buddy story. We wrote another script that was a buddy story called The Wooden Policeman that had a character, Buzz and Woody, in it, and never got made, never got optioned, never got sold. But that's the script that we were able to get to Disney and Pixar that gave us the opportunity. And so I would say, and it's just more like advice more than anything, just become good at one thing and then look at the industry and say, well, does that industry like to exploit that one thing? And if so, you have a shot, right? And I showed up. I've been doing this now for way too long, but I can't stop doing it. I showed up and I just chop wood every day, do my writing, do my part, and then hope that I can be around people who are good at their jobs. It's no different than covering a kickoff, right? Stay in your lane, do your job, you know.
You know, it's so funny. I was going to ask you that question of, you've been across so many different genres so would you say like your buddy stories is the emotional core of your typical stories that you write, Alec?
It's a sweet spot for me for sure. What I could tell you, and I don't know how this is going to land, but like I love telling stories, and I've really looked at the DNA of telling stories, and I really love telling stories from a character's emotional needs. And what I love about screenplays and screenwriting is that it's very structured and formulaic, but in there there's a lot of freedom. And so I feel like when I am more than anything, I there's like 6 boxes that have to get checked before I start anything, and they have to do with like structural things that maybe I see. But in that is it a character I want to like live with? And the buddy thing is great because it's tension, it's left brain, right brain stuff, and so there's natural, like every scene has to have tension, structure has to have tension, stories are driven by tension. It's just so natural there, and so I like doing that. But I think if anything, if I had to like look at my career and the stuff I still write, I like somehow just getting inside of certain characters and seeing the world from their point of view and then making it accessible for people. You know, just making it like something that you actually want to spend an hour and a half with, you know? If
Do
that
you
makes sense.
sometimes write with actors in mind, or is it strictly character?
I've never had I write with characters in mind. That could be actors in my head, but I don't write for talent.
Okay.
And when I have developed for talent, it's not it doesn't tend to be as enjoyable because and not to disparage anybody, but just like talent they well, I'll say like Tom Hanks, right? I'll just say this, right? Tom Hanks, um, the world thinks the nicest guy that ever lived, right? The most like the guy next door, the guy that you give the keys to your house to, the guy, right? And he could be all of those things, but he has to wake up every day knowing the whole world thinks that.
Hmm.
And so the decisions that he makes are as much like business brand decisions. He's the CEO of Tom Hanks. And when you're actually going through a creative process where you're trying to find something, it's harder to thread the needle when you're actually very specific at the nascent stages. Whereas when you write something, if you can get to a Tom Hanks and he somehow says, "I like that," then like, oh, like everything's working a lot better, right? So I tend to like think about characters. I tend to think about like people I know, my own experiences, movies that I've seen, books the sports stuff. I'm writing a thing right now. Well, I'm trying to remember like no, actually I use a different name, but like I've used athletes I know from like being a fan, and I've used their personas and characters, and nobody will know that but me, right?
Mm.
Like, but I'll just
Hmm.
be like, that's that guy, right? Um,
Can you give us any?
Off the top of my head, it's hard to pull one up at the moment. I apologize, but like I'll just say that that's how I write, and to me, it's more like I love movies because there's such great escapism, but I also love movies because you're building something that can maintain its value well past your life. Like you're building something. I can watch a movie that's 100 years old and still be moved the way they wanted me to be moved. Try watching like an old football game and care. And even if you don't know and even if you don't know the outcome, like
Yeah.
try like the great things about sports is that it's always changing. Like I don't know why you need the Jonas Brothers in the World Series, but like it's always changing. You never know what you're going to see next. And so that's kind of how I do it. I'm trying to remember like I've used like this as an old New York fan. Like I've used Nick's names a lot. I've had like Bradley and Frazier and Monroe as characters in scripts a lot.
That's
Well,
awesome.
when writing scripts, a lot of times too, I find just in general everyday life, the people that you meet, like, why would you create something out of nothing when these people exist?
Yeah, yeah,
You could just base it on the people that really do exist.
Was that for Clyde Frazier and Pearl Monroe?
yeah, 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 yeah.
Very
Like, and they
nice.
were and they were always like a pair of cops. It was, it's like Frazier and Monroe, man, and that's so yeah. That stuff lives inside of me and is a real sweet spot.
That's
You ever
awesome.
get
Alec,
asked?
where did you go to school in Philadelphia?
I went to Penn.
You
I
did?
went
Okay.
I went to Penn. I will tell you, and again, I don't know if this is gonna make me sound. I don't even know what it's gonna say, but I was recruited to play squash there,
No
and
way.
yeah, and Sam doesn't mention this, but our dad was a college basketball player at Brandeis in the '50s and played some semi-pro ball, and then he hit like his mid-20s and he was kind of starting a family and he needed to pick up a game, and he somehow found squash in the '60s, right? And he passed. He died too young, but he was a six-time amateur national champion. So
Mm.
we kind of grew up with this like very athletic guy who introduced this game to me. And I hit about 15 years old and I realized I could get into a good college playing squash. So even though I played basketball and baseball and all this, I was like, let me do that. And I got recruited to play at Penn, and that's how I got there. And
Nice.
and enjoyed my time in Philly a lot. Uh, I still don't miss an opportunity to get down there because I think it's a great city. So
Well, Staszak just got a new bubble hockey table, so
Yeah,
Definitely.
we're gonna have a tourney soon.
that's awesome, man.
Iron
You know,
Maiden, baby.
the student union used to have like you had to put quarters in to kind of do all that stuff.
Right, that's how I
USA
learned the
Husk.
game at Villanova like 100 years ago.
Oh, you went to Nova, so check this out. Here's my in the Ed Pickney championship year.
Yeah,
Uh,
85.
Yeah, 85. I dated one of the cheerleaders, so I felt like I did my part.
Wait. Can we? I know a couple of them. Can we mention a name here or two?
I can't tell you her name. She was a brunette. We met at Doc's.
Because
And,
Harold Jensen dated one of them too, and it's his wife now. I don't know if you know Harold. He played-
I don't want to get into
Okay, all right.
trouble.
Let's stay away from both friends of mine.
Yeah, no, we don't want to do that. Hey,
Oh, that's
Alec,
good. You ever double for Woody Harrelson? I don't know. I can't do sport.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson. No?
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
I was getting ready for him to bust out with Kelly.
Kelly.
so all right, so we'll all right, we're very fortunate we had you guys this long.
We've
Yes,
had him
thank
on
you.
forever. We should probably pay him. union.
Honestly, Alec, please do us a huge favor. Will you guys please? I'll bug Sam about it. He has to listen to my mouth. Please come back and see us, please.
Oh, absolutely. And
This was
here's
so much fun, Alex. I really
and-
appreciate you coming
yeah,
on.
and here's the thing. Like, thank you for inviting, and Sam, obviously. Sports is great, right? Like, I wish the whole world was as much fun as like watching and talking sports, right?
Mhm.
Like it's and as a fan, like you actually don't really have a, all you're doing is caring, right? And so what a cool thing, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
We
Well, I
really
could pick your
appreciate you
brain
coming
all
on,
day
Alex.
long
I know, I
about
could
the
sit and-
entertainment industry. If you're ever looking for a 47-year-old intern, let me know.
Yeah. Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I'll
thank
wait
you
for
guys
that
so
cable
much.
lead to come in.
and by the way, like honestly, go fucking Birds. Like I hope you guys win it again. Like
I hope so too.
keep
I
it in the
appreciate
division.
that.
Dallas sucks. Washington, I can't root for the commies, and so
Right.
like it's like
I do
The
root for the
commodes.
Giants. If the Giants are good and the Eagles aren't, I'll root for the Giants in the playoffs for sure.
and by the way, that's like been the relationship with these two franchises because we're so close, because we share New Jersey, because of like how do you not like if the Giants aren't going to be competitive, it's even like I like watching Barkley run. Like, thank God he's got an offensive line. You can see how good the guy is.
I
Really
know.
good.
I mean, like for real. So anyway,
How's that
thank you
burst?
guys, and to be continued, right?
Alex Sokolow,
Yes, sir.
thank you so much, and I will. You guys are welcome anytime.
Yes,
Always.
please.
Thank you.
Anytime.
All right, you guys be well.
Appreciate
Thanks,
it,
man.
Al. Thanks, Alec. Guys, you want to hang for a sec? We'll just recap.
Yeah, absolutely.
These
That
guys
was
were
awesome.
man.
They can just
Guys-
co-host if they want. They can come on
Seriously,
whenever they want.
those
I
guys were the
love that
balls.
Sam
Those guys were
is
the
late.
balls.
Sam was late for his meeting. Who cares?
Yeah, right.
He really does. He would really rather talk about the Giants and football than like work stuff for him.
It's
You know,
amazing. They knew their
That's
shit. They
awesome.
knew their shit too.
Yeah.
They do. They know their stuff.
They really know their shit.
You guys concerned about this AJ Brown stuff?
I'm really not, to be honest. I don't think
Really?
I was moving them. Listen,
I feel like Howie might have leaked the Adam Schefter story yesterday. I think there's that, hey, if you give us a good pitch for him, if you blow us away.
I'll listen to anything. I mean, and I love AJ Brown. I think he's the best player on the team.
Same. I
If it makes
agree.
the team better, how about Jamar Chase and Trey Hendrickson? You got Bengals connections. Can you
Yeah.
make that happen, Micah?
Well, first of all, Hendrickson's banged up. He had a hip injury coming into this week. He tried to give it a go. They yanked him. They're not trading for damaged goods. I can't see Hendrickson coming here unless he gets healthy all of a sudden. AJ Brown, though, if you have Super Bowl aspirations, and the Eagles do, I don't see what trade you're making that makes your team better this year.
Thank you.
Agreed.
This year, right?
Yeah.
This
Worry
year.
about
Next year's
maybe-
off the table.
Right.
Yeah.
I
agree
mean,
with
you want
that.
to talk about next year, that's fine.
I agree with that.
I get a little concerned.
Let
that-
me ask you this: what is at the heart of your concern?
Cancer in the locker room.
How has that affected the team so far?
I mean, we've seen it affect a team before.
And they
So,
came
I
out
guess-
and buried the Steelers the next week after the Panthers game last year. They
Sure,
buried them.
but we also, again,
He
the whole
bailed them out of the
trio.
Vikings game. He bailed them out of the Rams game.
I understand that, Joe, but it's just I don't see how how a team could live with somebody that's like, I don't want to be here. I'm all about myself. I don't know. I'm having a hard time picking what side to be on. I don't think he's going anywhere either. But I'm fearful if he doesn't get fed, what are we going to deal with the next week? Like these like passive aggressive
let me
text
ask you this.
messages.
Only I hear what you're saying as a fan. If it affects the team, then that's not good if it becomes an infection in the locker room. I think he's very well liked in the locker room, and I know
I agree.
receivers almost by definition are divas. And
Mm-hmm.
I heard Andrew Hawkins, a former Brown and Bengals receiver, say that his agent always said, the squeaky wheel gets the oil. Let your team know if you're not happy. But here's a situation where he's doing it publicly, and that's why, like, I don't see the need to do it publicly. I agree
Agreed.
with you on that. Like, what's the point of now? If you have a problem, go talk to the coach. Go talk to Kevin Patullo. Go talk to Jalen. I don't know why you need to put these out, and maybe it does create it. And I know Nick Sirianni's trying to make it like it's not a distraction. It's fine, and maybe it is.
Right.
I
But
would
Joe,
probably
to
rather
Sean's
see him not.
point,
Yeah,
about you saying he's well liked in the locker room, I believe that.
I don't. I don't. I
That
think he is.
I think that makes Sean's point worse if he is well liked, because that means more people are likely to listen to him if he's poisoning the well.
Right. I mean, during the TO situation, there was pro TO
Yeah.
and con TO, and that locker room was completely divided. There
Was
was
it?
fights happening.
Was it completely
Yes, of course.
divided?
Yeah, there was people.
Where was the debate? 'Cause I know the Joe Banner thing was the division because he didn't want to pay him, and I thought they should have paid him because you pay your superstars.
Well, because I think some of them were shut the hell up and play the damn game. We need you. And then the other ones were like, yeah, no, pay that man his money. Pro, this is, what the NFL, like, I think like Trey Henderson, he wanted his money. And now we see why. He's banged up and he's, it's
Yeah.
like, damn it, if I had my money, I
But
get it.
so's Miles Garrett in terms of what he wanted. They gave him
No,
40 million a year.
I have no, like, your buddy Jason Ashworth I think it was today. He said I have no sympathy for him, and I agree. I don't have any sympathy for
which one?
Miles Garrett. That's
if
what you wanted. You chased the money and you stayed in Cleveland. You're going to get pissed.
They couldn't trade him though. I mean, and you can understand why not. Cleveland's not handing him over. And
No.
if I'm going to trade for him, I got to give you 2 first rounders plus whatever and pay him.
Yeah.
I can understand both sides of that. I'm not handing him over, and you're not willing to do what it takes to get him. So, in theory, I agree with you. They should have just moved on.
Right.
Myles Garrett has no place on the Cleveland Browns.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We saw it happen with Micah Parsons, okay? He wanted out, or this is what I want. And Jerry was like, I'm not going to give it to you. And then eventually they had to trade him. Some dumb team is going to come up and give the Cleveland Browns exactly what they want, just like the dumb Cleveland Browns went and paid everything for Deshaun Watson.
Well, the price would be different because at least the contract you're trading for. So there's at least there's no guesswork there.
Right.
And the price tag might change come November 4th.
Mm-hmm. So
it might,
you might be right.
You're getting like 40 million a year. I mean, that's a big contract to give up assets for it. And he's turning 30. I think he's phenomenal. And I like the fact he does press conferences without his shirt on. I think that's pretty cool. But other than
almost like doing a podcast with pictures of you with your shirt on.
But boom.
I love the before picture.
Very nice.
Looks like a night of Coronas.
A night? How about a month? Yeah, I don't know. So then what would you then AJ Brown, like, you're really going to blow the Eagles away with wanting to win now, like you said, Michael? Like, I don't think it's going to happen.
No, yeah, go ahead.
What would you get? You're digging a hole that you have to fill. Ask the Titans how they did it.
Exactly.
They traded him, and then 15 minutes later they draft Traylon Burks, who is now he's been released. I think he has one less touchdown than AJ Brown has Super Bowl appearances. Yep.
I mean, if
one career touchdown.
Yeah, if Vrabel wants him back, and I could only see the Patriots possibly being the team to blow him away. But again, I don't think it's going to happen. But I just think it's very funny that it's not going away. And after reading your article, Joe, about hamstring, the timing of it, things of that nature.
Well, let me ask: did you think it was? well, one, it didn't really
No, I think
smell.
he's hurt.
I think
I
he's
don't.
hurt too, but it didn't smell right at the time. And I hear you
Mm-mm.
on that. Now, let me just throw these numbers at you. When Devontae Smith scores a touchdown since 2022, the Eagles are 20-4, and that includes playoffs. When the Eagles score a touchdown, when Brown scores one since that time, pretty similar, 22-2. That's pretty good, 22-2 when he scores a touchdown.
Hmm.
So, yeah, to me, it's why aren't we feeding him more?
I
Why are
know.
we not feeding him more? Why does he get 7 yards against the Buccaneers, and then God forbid you're down 19 against the Rams, and every play was, you know what I mean? It seemed like it was to him. Like, why can't we get him more involved? Like,
It's
what?
a real
Look,
question.
Jamar Chase had 19 targets yesterday, caught 12 passes with
I
a
mean, I
backup.
think.
And they
I,
lost
They did
yeah.
lose.
to the Jets.
I mean, this Eagles team is all about getting into rhythm. They remind me of a train slowly pulling out of a
That's
train station before they finally get the momentum, and then it's like,
then it's a
God,
runaway train.
yes, exactly. So, you know, I, you, I'm fearful of the. I get it. I understand it. Where you go in, your best friends before your teammates, and then you become teammates, and your teammates for several years. Just like if you have colleagues at work, where you're gonna not hate them, but you're gonna have disagreements, and you're gonna have friction. I understand that. But this, I don't know, the diva wide receiver always scares me. It really does. I mean, it's just, Jalen's a winner, and I got to give him a lot of respect. He's turns cheek, doesn't say a word about it. Now, AJ doesn't say it either, but you can't help. He always is raving about Kevin Patullo and always saying he's an outstanding offensive coordinator. And it's like, but then you make these Instagram posts, and it's like, who are you talking about? And I can't help but think he's talking about the quarterback.
And no one thinks that about Patullo anyway, so that's a lie.
Right, but
You're probably right because we've heard about a fractured or strained relationship between him and
mhm.
Jalen. They used to be best friends. My concern with AJ is, first of all, keep him through this year. This is figure it out in the off season, but there's a big drop off if you remove him from this offense.
Absolutely.
You can't tell me Jahan Dotson. I mean, Jahan Dotson is okay, um, but I don't want Devontae out there by himself.
No,
Agreed. Agreed.
agreed.
So
Yeah.
you're gonna have to fill something, and don't draft somebody. I mean, you can.
I mean, when's the last time besides Devontae Smith? Let's not forget who they picked instead of Jefferson before that. I mean,
Yeah,
Rieger, that was terrible.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
How he fixed
Yeah.
it quickly because that
Sure.
was horrendous.
Sure. I think definitely Howie has learned from his mistakes. I mean, Howie made mistakes last offseason.
He's
and
been
we're
to
starting
two
see
Super
it.
Bowls
Exactly.
since blowing the Jefferson pick. And
Totally
I could
get it.
argue, because we don't know, so you can't argue with me because we don't know. If he did take Jefferson, maybe they don't go to any Super Bowls. I don't know why.
They
It could
definitely
be
wouldn't
anything.
have.
It's the butterfly effect.
Right. They wouldn't have had
That's
Devontae
true
Smith.
too.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't get Devontae. They don't.
They could have
Devontae
had
would be a
Jefferson and
giant.
Micah Parsons. They could have taken Micah Parsons instead of Devontae. I love Devontae, but you could have had Jefferson and Micah Parsons. And maybe you still don't go to any Super Bowls. You never know. They could be
Exactly.
hurt. They could be anything.
Right.
I know what I know now. They
We'd be
just won
telling
one or
Sam,
two.
I gotta go. Sam would be doing the podcast, and we'd be doing the meetings because he'd be raving about the Giants having Devontae Smith.
That was tremendous stuff. We'll slice and dice this up and
Mhm.
throw this out there, and maybe the boys can spread it around the West Coast.
I think we got some good stuff. I'm excited
was
to go back
great.
and watch.
Yeah, me
that was
too.
really fun getting those guys. Nice job, Micah. And you are, by the way, Joe Staszak today. I don't know how that happened, but I see two Joe Staszak names. I don't know.
Oh, I appreciate that. You're just trying to squeeze me
I
out
wonder.
slowly,
Alec kept saying,
work
"Well,
me out of the
Joe,
game
it's a
plan.
good question,
Joe.
Joe." And I kept looking up. I'm like, "Oh, there's two of us he's choosing. I wonder who he's talking about." Sorry, I'm storming into the '90s with this technology. Hey,
That's
great
all right.
stuff, fellas.
All right, guys, we'll chat.
Folks, we appreciate you listening. For my man Philly Shiz, where else are you from, brother? You give us all your stuff and.
Oh yeah, I post this on Facebook at Philly Shiz, Instagram at Philly Shiz, Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and I throw this up on LinkedIn for social network as well. So,
Micah Dub.
I'm at Micah Warren on Blue Sky. That's the best place to find me.
All right, Joe Staszak at where am I? X, Twitter. Oh, Twitter. What am I? 975, and then
He's asking us, Sean. He's asking us. Like, what am I?
why don't you
I
ask
don't know
the
what your
cat?
Twitter
Why
handle
don't you
is.
ask the cat that keeps roaming
This is
around?
way past. I should. He knows better than I. It's way past my
The
an hour
best,
and a half. You think I can? My ADD hangs in there that long? I was
Micah,
gone
my
for
favorite
15
part
minutes.
of the episode, I looked back of where Joe said, "Hey, no one's called me an asshole today." You know what happened? Cat decided to put his asshole right up
Yeah.
at Joe's face.
I feel much more. I feel better now. My day is complete, and I can go along and do my thing. Great stuff, fellas. Appreciate you watching, and of course, this is on YouTube and all the audio outlets as well. It'll be on tonight, and we'll spread it around. We appreciate you watching, and we will catch you next time for the Philly Pulse, your city's network. It's
Sports Beat, your city's sports beat. It's fine. It's been a long time.
Micah Walkner. It's been Micah Warren. It's been a long time.
Micah Lochner.
Catch you next time, fellas.
All right, guys.
All right, see ya.